Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about future DLC in Total War Warhammer 3 once Omens of Destruction comes out. And by the way, why is Skulltaker acting like a Slaaneshi demon over here in this trailer? I have no idea. But regardless, we've gotten Khorne, Greenskins, Ogres over here. Previously we had Empire, Nurgle, Dwarves. So let's talk about certain characters that Creative Assembly could add in future DLC, or the ones that I think are the most likely choices for them to go for in future DLC. Now, it should be pointed out that I do firmly expect a Slaaneshi themed DLC to come out, though which character they decide to focus on with Slaanesh, that is a big question mark with respect to that. But in terms of characters that they could add and are most likely to add from my point of view, first off, we have Acelin, the Sea Lord of Ulthuan. So this could be a way for Creative Assembly to finish up the High Elves and also update the High Elves. It could also work very well with the Slaaneshi themed DLC because Slaanesh and Elves, maybe even replace Nakari in Ulthuan with another faction, or, I don't know, just change things around in Ulthuan in quite a big way, because as things currently stand, not necessarily the best dynamic in the world with regards to that. But still, that would be a possibility that Creative Assembly could go for. I don't think there's that many High Elven characters that they could choose. There's a couple, but I think Acelin, out of the ones that are still left, I think Acelin would be the most interesting. I mean, personally, I would love to see Finnabar being added into the game, but that's probably not going to happen. Tyrion will remain in control of Lothern. Then at number 4, we have the Monkey King. Monkey King, very much expect the Monkey King to be added into the game. We have it from Creative Assembly themselves, the statement that they are going to make another DLC focused on Cathay, and would also be an opportunity to add the Fire Dragon into the game alongside the Monkey King, and who knows what else they could focus on. Could also allow them to expand the area around Cathay, in particular to the south or southwest a bit of Cathay, basically southwest of just a bit of Gelt's position, or also directly south of Gelt's position, to make it bigger and maybe make things more interesting in that entire area, because as it currently stands on the campaign map, Cathay is not really great as an area past like turn 20-30. Like those first 20-30 turns, great, amazing, but if you're playing a Cathay faction in particular, you do that, you deal with that early game, and then you got little else to do. Unless you want to head over to Lustria, focus on Lustria as Jan Bo, but yeah, that's not even that interesting. I mean, Cathay is great for the early game, but the expansion paths, like for Skaven, for Dark Elves, different discussion, right? You play a low-tier campaign, you get Karen Carr, you got other things to worry about. You play a Snitch campaign, you got other things to worry about. But I think an expansion in that particular area, specifically to the south, would be a great choice. At number 3, we would have, of course, the mad rodent himself and the utter failure, that is Tanquol. Now, Tanquol would finish up the Skaven roster, in particular by focusing on the demons of the Skaven. Because Skaven, remember, Skaven are a chaos faction. And so you could get various demonic-focused units from the Skaven, or one particular unit, as well as a couple of other things as well to finish up their roster, and maybe give Skaven a small update. I don't think Skaven, like out of the races in Warhammer 3, I really think Skaven need an update the least, because they do work quite well. Maybe some updates with Skaven Blight as a starting location, help it, all that, but relatively minor stuff compared to, say, a race like Kislev needs, or even Slaanesh needs, or even High Elves. Like, again, Skaven work, it's more of an issue with starting positions with certain legendary lords, but Skaven do absolutely work very well as a race. So this could work well for a DLC where they have one or two races that do need substantial updates, like Kislev, Tomb Kings, etc. But then you could have Tankwall with less updates for the Skaven. And I think it would be a crime if Warhammer 3 finished without Tankwall being added into the game. In fact, I dare say he should have been a 100th Legendary Lord, that or someone else. That's going to come up in just a second. But then we have Neferata at number 2. Now, Neferata, really important character in the lore for the vampires. And if you look at the Darklands, the way they've changed the Darklands, it just screams of starting position. So we know Neferata is going to come into the game. Like, it was part of those leaks. Now, people are going to say, oh, the leaks were fake and all that. I'll possibly make a video on that, but let me just say it like this. Clearly, some things didn't pan out, and things were changed. But one of the things I did mention even back then, even when the leaks came out, is that if we get the DLC coming out by the end of summer that's different than leaks, yeah, the leaks were complete bullshit. But if it takes longer, and it took a lot longer than that, then maybe there's some value to the argument that, you know, people like Legend made. That's my perspective on this. But I would expect Neferata. We know that it's unlikely Creative Assembly will end Warhammer 3 without a major update to the vampire counts and possibly the Tomb Kings as well. And I think, like, out of the vampire characters, Neferata makes the most amount of sense. And already, they've changed the terrain already in the Darklands to fit giving her a starting position. Maybe a couple more changes on that, but yeah, she's the leader of the Lamian Sisterhood. We have the Lamian Sisterhood as a faction in the game. We have it in a province, 4-region province, where they just started with one settlement in Silver Pinnacle and the rest controlled by Greenskins. That would be a great starting position to work with. Maybe a bit too powerful because, you know, you can always take Zarnagrim, but maybe we could talk about that later on. And then finally on number 1, of course, the big bone daddy himself, Nagash, of course. Nagash, like with Tankwall, I think it would be ridiculous if Warhammer 3 ended without Nagash being added in the game. Now, some of the leaks suggested that they might do even an expansion focused on the end times and have Nagash in there. Would make sense. Like, we already have the cast characters, or the vast majority of the cast characters that participated in the end times already. Norska could certainly use an update, sure. But we already have most of the cast characters in the game. You do need Nagash. And I imagine there would be a DLC where you'd have Nagash, you'd have an update to the vampire counts, you'd have updates to Tomb Kings, and so you'd get Neferata, you'd get Nagash. I'm not sure what they could add as a Legendary Lord for the Tomb Kings, or maybe they add Nagash as the Legendary Lord for the Tomb Kings and also update them. But I think Nagash should have like a unique play style. Not just like, oh, he's a Tomb King. No, he should play very differently, but at the same time also take the opportunity to update the Tomb Kings. I mean, Nagash coming back is kind of something that played a major role in the end times even happening in the first place. Let's just say Nagash screwed a lot of things up, or rather Manfred. You can blame the end times on Manfred far more so than Nagash. To be honest, also the Skaven blowing up the moon, destroying half the freaking world in the process, that also played a major role in the whole situation. But that's all I had to say. Christine signing out. Stay tuned for more.